You hear a lot about binge drinking these days, but there isn't really any agreed definition of what binge drinking is. Originally, the term binge meant something quite different. It's like, I don't know if you remember the movie Lost Weekend. It refers to a prolonged bout of very heavy drinking over several days. And what happened was that in the 1980s, the term got kind of hijacked, I suppose is the best way of describing it, and was used to refer to episodes of heavy drinking which might be much shorter. In fact, some researchers talk about a binge as being 5 drinks on a single occasion. Now, a single occasion that is also somewhat open to different definitions. But if you think about it, 5 drinks, I mean, it's quite a lot of drinks, but it's quite conceivable that if someone were to go out for dinner and they had a drink before dinner, they shared a bottle of wine, let's say, with their partner over dinner, and then they had an after-dinner drink, that's 5 drinks. Now, I'm not sure that most people would consider that to be a binge. So it's become a very doubtful term, particularly a doubtful term if you're trying to base public policy upon it. The reason it's become such an issue of concern, though, is not so much this civilized person having their drink before dinner, their half a bottle of wine with dinner and their drink afterwards. It's much more to do with what you might call extreme drinking by young people. That's to say, people who are going out with the express intention of getting drunk. People who, before they even go out, may consume a great deal of alcohol in order to have a head start for the evening, and then drink more, much more, during the course of the evening. In those circumstances, they may do things that are extremely risky. They may even choose to do things that are very risky. We've been involved in the Alcohol Education Centre recently looking at binge drinking patterns in countries all around the world. And one of the focus groups that we ran was in Nigeria, where one of the young people said, well, what we like to do when we've had a lot to drink is we like to go swimming in a river. And he named a particular river. He said, we like to go swimming there because that river's full of crocodiles. We like to go swimming with crocodiles. And I think that concept, if you like, swimming with crocodiles, that's what's worrisome about binge drinking. It's the kind of drinking which leads people to do things which either are risky or even which they know very well to be risky, so that the risk-taking becomes part of that pattern of drinking. So what can be done about binge drinking? Well, I think there are 2 sides to a balanced societal response. The first has to do with making sure people have the information they need, and that requires education. And many different parts of society can be involved in educating people about the risks of binge drinking. Schools, parents, the court system, police, governments, the beverage alcohol industry. Nobody really has anything to gain from binge drinking. So providing good information is going to be an important framework within which other things can happen. But it's not going to be enough, because as we've learned, many people who choose to binge drink do so in full knowledge of the risks that they're taking. So there has to be a different part of the response as well, and that's what you might call early identification and simple advice. Now, that means identifying people, seeing the people who are putting themselves at risk, and then offering them some advice about changing their drinking behavior. Not necessarily stopping drinking altogether, because for many of them that would be advice that they would be unwilling to take, but to change their drinking pattern so that they stop putting themselves at risk. Many different people, again, can offer that kind of advice. It doesn't need to be done through the court system, and it doesn't need to be done by doctors. It can be done by teachers, it can be done by pharmacists, it can be done by anybody really who has any contact with the people who are drinking in this way. So parents, again, would be an important source of this kind of advice. And peers, other people who are drinking who are the same age as these people, but who are not necessarily putting themselves at the same kind of risk. It's really anybody in society that they're going to trust. So a good societal response involves information and education on the one hand, and simple advice based on early identification on the other.